Anyway, like I say, they tried to cover it up because it was basically. I mean, I think it was the black people, as Harlem and Wolf, basically trying to get more and more get white people killed or something like that. But basically, like I say, me at the LS shipyard and then the LC shipyard. Well, they were doing rape circles and stuff like that there too. But pretty much, that was the black people, I believe. They were showing up, and then they raped the daughter of the German that worked there, and and also went after some Irish people too. They were trying to just make their lives so miserable that they would leave town and leave the LS shipyard and leave the LC shipyard. Like I said, the Harlem Wolf shipyard was this little bitty, little little sluiceway that they would pull ships up on using one of they had stolen or gotten one of the steam winches that I had, and they would pull the ships up on this thing, and the black people would go and they'd scrape the barnacles off. And as soon as they could, they got somebody else, like the Filipinos or someone in there, basically. And they were trying to buy the LS and LC shipyards, and I said no, or manufacturing plants. Like I said, I own mines and I own the smelting facilities, and I said no, I will not sell. Anyway, nor would any of my people. Anyway, and then Mr. Brown, he came out with these toilet seats that were basically just a square box and a hole and a lid with a hole. And then he sold like 10,000 orders of those, or said he had 10,000 orders and had them sold already and had the money in his hand, and wanted to buy the LS shipyard. And I was like, no, I'm not going to sell it. I won't sell. I love that shipyard. I built that shipyard. I dredged the channel for that shipyard. This site sits on my old quarry. LS and LC quarry. Look it up. Belfast sits on one of my oldest quarries of like 5,000 years ago. There was a quarry. There's a slate quarry where the Belfast shipyard sits. A giant slate quarry. It was LS shipyard or whatever. I think maybe Singapore was actually the LC shipyard. Anyway, I had multiple sites and multiple shipyards or multiple quarries basically. And then later on, because I also did do reactors in stone. You know, we would mine and drill and stuff, and we'd make these reactors all out of stone, where it's basically a stone reactor, and then we'd put metal pipes in there and stuff like that. So basically, when the pipes rusted out, you know, the reactor would still, because we knew eventually the pipes were going to leak, so we can't just have a pipe out there in what's called, you need to have concrete or something around it, because eventually the pipe rusts, and then you have hot steaming water for one thing, for another thing you have reactive water going everywhere. Although how much and how long the water actually stays reactive for, I don't really know. That was up to debate. Anyway though, so we knew the pipes would rust. So all of the LS and LC reactors, which I did have some nuclear reactors, were basically like, you go to a room basically and put it together. It starts getting hot, whatever, and then you basically flood it with water, and pretty much it functions or whatever. Basically, like there were even some where basically you just basically go tunk and put these two things together, and then drop it in a hole, pretty much, and then it goes, it gets all hot and stuff. And it just boils and boils and boils and boils and boils. It's a hot rock, basically. And in a proper environment with safety and control, I think, I'm not sure about how dangerous they are separated, but once you get them together, they, it becomes like that's the whole thing is basically there's one element and then there's another element, I think. It's a two-element process, I'm pretty sure. And then when the elements, because they give off radiation, and basically when when these two elements get near each other, they start going. So what you have is you have poles sticking up, and then you have this other metal which comes down. Basically, it's coated on whatever metal, I think. Anyway, two elements, and when they get near each other, the radiation interacts, and basically they start heating up. Eventually, if they without water or anything else, they will heat up and melt, and then bloop, drip down to the ground, and then they will and eventually they will fizzle out. But basically, I forget exactly. It's uranium. It's two uraniums basically. One gives off these particles. One gives off those particles. Like I say, I don't really know, and I'm way out of date on everything. But basically, two metals, you put them near each other, and they react with one another. Basically, or they react with themselves. Anyway, something about that. Like the more of this metal. Anyway, I don't really remember. I just technically everything that I know about it is technically would be top secret anyway. So they've tried to remove any information I have on radiation or reactivity from my mind, because I do have some knowledge, or did have more knowledge. Like I said, more than anything, I'm just now I'm just the figurehead or leader, the real LS. Anyway, though, basically it's two items or two pieces of metal or metal of the same type, just separated by space. And the more closer you get to them, they're like positive and negative, where they react with each other somehow and cause matter to destabilize. Like one, I don't really know. It's PhD level stuff, and basically it's stuff that they found out the hard way mostly. Like I say, 5,000 people died from this because they were trying to make the great leap ahead without me. They certain people said, we gotta get. They bought all the stock they could. They got all the people that they could, and they said, we're gonna go and do that. We're gonna beat you, Lucifer, and LS. They were gonna beat me at technology, beat me at innovation finally, and finally take the market. And anyway. Anyway, I don't really know. They say they got debtors. They say they got this. They say they got that. Anyway, somewhere in Russia, they started refining uranium like crazy. I warned them, and I said, no, it's not a good idea. They started making the uranium more powerful, more potent. And in its normal form, it's not that dangerous. But as you refine it more and more and more, it gets to be very dangerous and very unstable. Like I say, when they were coming back from the mine sometimes, if you put a bunch of it together, a lot of it together, it would actually start to steam on its own or something like that. It starts to heat up or something. As you refine it, when you have large amounts of it together, it'll start to actually steam and even catch on fire by itself. So I know this because they were transporting it in my trains, and there was a fire on the train, and I was like, why is there... It's ore, right? Like, well, it burst into the fire and melted the whole train. Anyway, and I don't know more than that. I just know the report of basically some cargo burst into fire and basically melted the train and the tracks and the dirt underneath it. So, anyway, like I said, there was a lot of stuff that was being restricted or kept from my knowledge. So, anyway, and they were trying to cool it down with water hoses and all kinds of stuff. And I'm pretty sure they all died within 3 years or a year. Like I said, back then, there were people that only lived a year, and then they would die. Or less. Sometimes only 30 days. So, and somebody like Harlem Wolf or Nixon or somebody was like, oh, it's fine, just bring in more people. And they were just bringing in more people, and they weren't telling anybody what happened to the person that they were replacing. They really wanted to get ahead of LC shipping, which was me. I had plenty of coal. I had plenty of wood. I was just shipping away. Happily shipping. I mean, I had the market on all the coal. I was selling the coal for a fair deal, though. I mean, most people were like, coal's a good price. I was even giving it away to people that were cold. It's like, here, have some coal. Have some coal. If you're cold. If you're cold, use some coal. Anyway, so cold coal. Anyway, we were selling it and even giving it away to the people, because there was a freezing. It was freezing outside and people were dying from freezing to death. So we'd give them coal for the winter. So because we were mining so much, it's like there's plenty of it. Coal prices dropped through the floor when I was doing it because they're like so cheap. Other than, I use it for smelting and stuff, and that's where you really needed the coal.